Hello, Gary. Hello, Gene. Welcome, everybody. D-Worm. How you doing there, Tracy? Hey, Crystal. Catherine. Gary Spikes. Welcome, everybody, as they come tracing through. We'll get Tracy to unmute his mic there. He's muted. FDL Paranormal. There you go. No, still no audio. Hey, Joe, welcome. Well, Tracy is working on his settings there. Hello, Denise, welcome. We're going to actually talk about Grizzly's experiences tonight. So, yes. So, yeah, don't forget to hit the like, follow me button, subscribe if you haven't, ladies and gentlemen. Greatly appreciate it. When you hit the like button, it actually helps out our channel. It helps out the algorithm in YouTube and also on Facebook. Hey, Crystal. And welcome everybody to the show. We'll let Tracy filter back in here. Everything was working fine in the green room, but he just disappeared. So we'll see where he went off to and see if we can track him back down, ladies and gentlemen, get him back into the studio. Hopefully everything's okay. No storms in my area. But so I am going to a graveyard probably Monday or Tuesday, and I'm going to go live with my daughter. And we're going to do a show live, yes, in a graveyard. So it's going to be interesting. And see what we can get and film and do some EVPs. And we're going to do some techniques and take some equipment. So it's going to be interesting. And see how that goes. We'll be in Louisville, Kentucky, probably Monday or Tuesday. I don't know which day. It's supposed to be some rain, so we're going to check that out, see what day it's going to rain. But so we're going to advertise that, be live, walking around the cemetery. So hopefully, if we don't see something, maybe you all will catch something. So we'll have extra cameras going as well. Here comes Tracy now. All right, Tracy, let's see here. As he filters himself back in, ladies and gentlemen. So, hey, Brian. Welcome, Brian. All right, Tracy, are you there?
I think so.
Yeah, okay, now you're there. So I was telling everybody I'm gonna do a live show in a graveyard next week. So
yeah, I heard about that earlier. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Where are you doing it at?
And Shively, in one of the cemeteries in Shively in Louisville.
Oh man, that'll be fun.
Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting. So my daughter will probably try to do a grave whisper technique on her grandparents' or great-grandparents' grave. See how that goes. So I've got partially the vehicle loaded already. So I'll probably leave out Saturday morning. So it's not a far drive, probably 30-minute drive where I'm going. But she's real excited. So we're going to take out some trail cams and place them around the cemetery and some other cameras. We'll have night cameras and some night visions and some other technology we're going to take, with, of course, cat balls and the ghost box and spirit box, whatnot. And hey, Dave, welcome to the show.
That'll be a blast. That'll be fun for you guys. Quality time, right?
Yeah, we're going to be live. So we're going to broadcast live. We'll have our mics and the table and everything, computers, because I got equipment we can go live. So hopefully, whatever we don't see, maybe somebody in the audience will catch. So, or it may be just a dud and maybe no activity. So who knows? Hey, Roger, welcome to the show.
Yeah, that'd be smart.
So what's been going on with you?
Well, unfortunately, for those that tuned in to see Brittany Isley, she wasn't feeling well tonight, so she ended up canceling. We're going to reschedule with her, but that'll be later on, probably towards the end of November, is what she was saying. We have some pretty good bookings through October 11th, I believe, and then in November we got some good stuff coming too. Next week is April Bussett. So that'll be a good show for everyone too. But yeah, it's kind of, I think Eric is probably saying all because of the Brittany canceling, but it is what it is. People don't feel good and can't blame them. So
just remember, Catherine, if you do find my location, remember I'm retired law enforcement. So hint, hint, I do pack heaters. So do not play with me while I'm out in the field. So just remember.
Where's that cat ball at? I saw earlier on your other show. It was going on crazy.
Yeah, I put it down. I got too nervous with all that activity. So
it was going crazy.
A lot of people. Yeah, not only that. So was the REM pod.
I heard it going on. Yeah.
Did you hear what I called it? I made a new word: REM balls.
REM balls.
REM pod. That's what I called it. I was so nervous. I called the REM pod or REM balls. I was trying to say the REM pod and the balls at the same time. They're both going off at the same time, and everybody started laughing. I got so nervous. So a lot of people are like, hey, Rita, lovely maid, Sergeant. I love Beatles. Every time Rita comes on the show, I think about the Beatles. But so a couple of people are like, since she ain't coming on, Grizzly, why don't you talk about your experiences?
Yeah.
Since nobody's really heard about you. And I was like, well, I usually don't like talk about me, right? I always like to hear about everybody else's. So I was like, okay, that's fine. So I went out there and changed it. So, I'll start off about where a lot of people know about my experience when my grandfather passed. Hey, Barb, which we're going to go up to Barb's experience here shortly, which is on the last show. If y'all missed it, you need to go back and watch it. Yeah, it was some far out stuff with Barb and Angus and everything. So, but anyways, my grandfather passed away when I was around 13, 14 years old. And he was really upset because he never was going to be able to see me play the trumpet when I was growing up. And that bothered him. And so we had a place down at the lake. And I'll never forget, I went to get me something to drink. And we had this big deck on the porch, outside on the porch, a covered deck. And to put in perspective how big this porch is, we're talking maybe 12 to 14 foot wide, probably 55 foot long. And it's enclosed, right? Screened in. So big enclosure porch, right? And on the porch, if you remember, back then you had those old aluminum doors. Remember those? And on the deck, there was two decks. There's one when you came out of the place, and the other one was the extension when you walked up to the porch onto the deck. So there's two decks. So over time, one would sag, another one, was not level. So when you open up the main door to get onto the deck, you would have to drag that door, and you can hear it drag. And we had bells on it. So, anytime somebody came onto the deck while you was inside, even with the air conditioners running at that time, we didn't have central air. We had window units. Even with the window units and the TV running with the rabbit ears with tinfoil, right? You can hear somebody come onto the porch, and plus you can see them coming on because they had to go by the main window. You see the shadow. So in the living room, there was a pull-out couch. And the pull-out couch turned into a bed. So I slept there. And my grandmother slept on the other couch. And I don't know why we never used the bedrooms, right? We always slept in the living rooms. Don't ask me why, down at the lake. So I got up to get me something to drink. And when I got up, we had curtains on the door next to the kitchen table going out. And as I looked out there you know how the moon shines through the trees, right?
Yep.
And I looked and I was like, there's somebody out there. And I was like, there can't be. Now, being in law enforcement family and growing up out in the country, you never had enough heaters, right? I mean, especially down at the lake, I always packed and carried. And I was like, there's no way somebody got on there because A, we locked the door on the deck. And plus, I was right there. So I would hear somebody try to grab the door and the bells would go off or the door would rattle and it would make noise. And I look and I'll open up the curtains and I peek through and I look and somebody took a puff of a cigarette inside the face lit up and it was my grandfather. And I'm like, I was like, no. So I'm hollering at my grandmother. I'm like, Grandma, get. Now, why is it, ladies and gentlemen, that when you try to wake somebody up, they don't get up? Why? It's just like in the damn movies. There's like, they don't move. And I'm screaming, get up, get up. Your grandpa's on the porch right now. So I go over there and I shake the hell out of her. And she's like, what? I'm like, Grandpa's out on the porch. He's smoking a cigarette. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, come out here. I'm like, yeah, come back. So she goes out there and we look and she goes, there ain't nobody out here. She says, are you smoking? I'm like, I ain't smoking. She's like, what's there cigarette smoke for? And there was cigarette smoke trapped underneath the overhangs. So we had an aluminum roof made out, the aluminum roofs, with the little ridges on them where the rain would hit and rain would run off and smoke was trapped. Now that was freaky. So I would not go back to sleep the rest of that night. I stayed up all night on that one. So ever since he passed, my grandmother would have stuff that would go on at her house and down at the lake. Lights would come off and on their own. And she was like, damn it, buddy, quit it. And the lights would come on and off. Crucifixes would fly off the wall. He was a prankster. He just loved to play jokes and pranks on people.
Yeah.
And when he passed, I slept in his front bedroom. And I'll never forget it. And I was married at the time. I was in my early 20s. And I was taking a nap because I worked late. And, man, I got slapped just like that across my face. Man, I come flying out of that bed. I didn't know what the hell hit me. And I come running down the hallway, and my wife and my grandmother was at the kitchen table just laughing their buns off. And I'm furious. And I'm like, what in the hell? Why do y'all? I'm like, and I'm going off on them, and they're like, what is your problem? And I'm like, why wouldn't the hell would you do that to somebody while they're sleeping? And they're like looking at me like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, why would you slap me like that? I'm like, that hurt. They're like, what are you talking about? I was like, why would you slap me? They're like, nobody, we're just sitting at the table. We don't know what you're talking about. And my wife at the time was like, oh my God, look at his face. I had a handprint on the side of my face. And I went in the bathroom and looked at the mirror and there was a handprint. And I mean, it slapped the fire out of me. So I was like, what in the world? And I was like, oh no. And we went round and round for like 20 minutes over this. And they swore up and down it wasn't them. And I swore for like 6 months it was one of them. I swore it was her.
Yeah.
I really did, So I kind of blew that off, tossed it up, was her playing a joke on me. So things happen. And when we first got our first house, I was probably, 22 years old when I first bought my first house. And I would always be downstairs and I would hear my name being called. And that would scare the hell out of me. And it would be real faint and it would sound like coming from upstairs. And I would hear footsteps. I lived in an old Cape Cod house. And if you don't know what a Cape Cod house looks like, Google it. It's a real nice looking house. And it reminds you of a house up north. That's why I call it a Cape Cod house. And it was made out of stone. Bedford stone, not limestone, but stone, right? Beautiful stone. And when I'm home by myself, because she worked late at nights, you can actually hear footsteps walk up and down. And I always thought it was, it was the old house, the house selling. I really didn't put two and two together. And I noticed upstairs things would be moved. And at the time, I had a reloading bench. And that tells you at the time what I was doing. When I say reloading, I used to reload my own ammunition.
Yep.
So, and certain things I would have in certain areas, right? And when I do reloading, there is a format. It's like da 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 when you do something, and you have to do it in a particular order to make a final product. And during this process, if I would stop, I know I come right back in and pick up and da da and finish. Well, there will be something skewered or something out of the process step. So I thought it was me just trying to straighten up or scoot things out of the way. And I just kept, moving, blaming myself for everything. And this went on for quite a while. And then it was noticed that I couldn't, hello, YouTube user, how you doing? I couldn't find my keys. Stuff start disappearing. Small things. And I was like, okay, I'm working too many hours. You set them down. And I'm the type, Tracy, I come home, here's my keys, my wallet stays here. I know exactly where to go. Same and if I'm out of that routine, it's like a monkey in a wrench, right? It screws everything up. So, hey, Sean, welcome to the show. So all this stuff happens. And my mom would start telling me that, things were happening at her house. And she couldn't believe it either. So my grandmother got real sick, and it was real sad. She ended up getting throat cancer. So I ended up moving in with her, helped take care of her. And if you never had anybody that had a trach, that's very hard and a lot of work to maintain. So I helped her, and she ended up passing away. And she was down at the lake, my mom and dad. And she said she was sleeping on the same couch, right? The pull-out couch, because it's real nice, very comfy, mattress and everything. Yeah. And the light came on in the middle of the night. And she went and pulled the cord, and the light wouldn't go on. And she was like, well, that's strange. So she goes over and goes to unplug the light. The light's not plugged in. It's crazy. She pulls the cord and looks and pulls the cord. Those hanging lights, those old hanging lights?
Yes, sir.
And the cord is going to the light, and she's like, what? And she's like, Mom, and the light turns off, and she says, Mom. So she's telling me all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, wow. I was like, that's crazy. So she's telling me all of this stuff, right? And I'm like, okay. Well, lo and behold, stuff starts happening with me down at the lake. And so I start, putting two and two together. And it's weird because everybody on my mom's side of the family has always come back. So, I'm old house, voices, stuff being moved and whatnot. And even in Lexington, things were happening. Pictures on the wall will be crooked and moved. And a lot of that stuff, I blew it off as, I bumped into it in the wall because, with my back problems, when I got hurt on the department, maybe me bouncing off the walls or holding the walls, trying to balance myself. I didn't think nothing of it. And one of my psychics are like, do you keep straightening up pictures on the walls? And I'm like, yeah, why? Why do you ask that? And she goes, well, because that's your grandfather. And I'm like, what? She goes, yeah. And she goes, you got tired of doing it, didn't you? And I'm like, yeah, I did. I just left him alone. She goes, yeah, because he ended up knocking them off. A few of them off the wall. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. I was like, that's actually true. And I didn't put them up. So I'm getting ready to move because she told me when I was going to move and stuff. And it was weird. And I'm trying to find a picture as I'm talking. And my grandfather allegedly has been with me for years, especially being on the police department, because we were out working one night. And I was if you know what a slick top is, it's an unmarked police car. And I pulled up to one of my cruisers, officers was sitting there. And and I was talking to an officer, was leaning against my car, and an officer was in his car. You know how you pull up side by side.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and we're just having a good time, and they were filling me in, hey, Captain, this is what's going on tonight. This is what we're doing and everything else. And just give me like a brief little summary of what their calls were going on. And I'm looking at the CAD system and that's the computers and looking at the reports and so forth, see what was going on. And next thing I know, one of the officers just takes off running. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, I mean, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if I was getting ready to get shot, was getting ready to get ambushed, because this is like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And he screams, he says a nasty word, and he just takes off running. Well, the guy next to me freaks out. Well, of course, I freak out, and here I'm sitting in the car trying to figure out what's going on. So I'm looking all around. I'm still trying to find the picture. So I pull up, jump out of the car real fast. Well, my other buddy, he gets out of the car, and we're trying to find, I won't mention his name for embarrassment. Hey, Russ, welcome to the show. And I hollered his name. I'm like, hey, come here. I'm like, what's going on? And then this guy's like totally out of breath. And he was like, man, he said, I'm sitting there talking to you. And I stand up and I look over the top of your car, and this guy is just standing there. And I'm like, what do you mean a guy's just standing there? He's like, yeah. He's like, a guy is just standing there. And I'm like, well, what did he look like? Because I didn't see anybody. He was like, no. He's like, he just like materialized. He's just like, and just formed.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, come on. And I was like, you got to be joking, right? And I was like, what did he look like? So he starts describing me what this guy looks like. And it's not adding up at the time, right? So I'm still trying to scroll through here. So he's sitting there telling me, and I'm like, nah, that doesn't sound anybody. So, who knows, right? Because, I mean, I worked at an old part of the town out in the county. So, and he was like, man, he's like, Grizzly, I'm telling you, it actually happened. He said, I promise you. And this guy is honest Abe, man. He's never told me anything wrong. He's always been square with me. And everything is, his reports has always been right. I mean, everything he says, you can always take to the bank, and he's just a good all around guy. And so the more and more I thought about it, it just didn't add up. So I let it go, and I went on. We worked our shifts, and later on that night, I was sitting there, and I got home, and I was like, well, that's weird. And I was like, that sounds familiar now. And I was like, so I start going through my photographs, and I was like, well, maybe. And I was like, no, I'm not going to text this picture. I'm like, so I waited. I was off the next couple of days, so I drove down to the station, and he was working. He was like, what are you doing down here? I was like, I want to show you a photograph. And I was like, he said, sure. He said, who's this photograph of? And I was like, I just want to show you this photograph, but I just want to see what's going to happen. And I was like, tell me, does this resonate with you? And I clicked this photograph, and I showed him, and I held it up and I held it back, and his face turned white. He was like, who is that? And I was like, that's my grandfather. He goes, that was the guy.
Yeah.
And he was like, he just like couldn't believe it. And so I was talking to Kelly, and Kelly's, and I had other people with the Billy said that he's always been watching me, especially when I was on the police department and so forth. And I can't find a picture of the picture I showed him, unfortunately. But it was interesting. And he watched over me for many years on the force. And I guess since he was a police officer too, right, for the city of Louisville, and he retired, and so was his brother. He was a police officer, and so was my brother. So I guess he was just watching out for me. And there were some times, Tracy, that I couldn't tell you why things did not happen the way it should have happened, or why I did not get hurt when I should have got hurt. Does that make sense?
Yes, it definitely does.
So, it's just very interesting. And so I was talking to Kelly during one of her interviews, and Kelly Joe is one of the very well-known psychics. And it was funny because the first interview, I thought she was crazy. And she was telling me that, you're going she said something about taps. And I'm like, no, I don't tap dance. She said, no, listen to me. And I was like, no. I said, taps. I don't tap dance. She
Yeah.
said, stop it. She's like, you used to down at the lake, you used to play taps down on the porch, and it used to echo around the lake. And I was just like, oh. She's like, on your trumpet. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, nobody knew that. She said, you did it at 6 o'clock every night that you were down there, and your grandfather loved it, and he misses that.
Oh,
And
no.
that light flipped the switch, and then that light caught my attention. I'm like, okay, now this lady's like spot on right now. Like nobody in my life, nobody knows I used to play the trumpet. Nobody knew that I did this down at the lake or anything like that. So I'm listening. And this is the one that told me about the pictures and all this other stuff. And she was like, you got problems with your commode flushing. And I'm like, yeah, I do. And I was like, we had brand new commodes put in our facilities. And I said, what's weird is like, my family were like, oh, here it is. I got the picture. So
Right.
that's what he looks like, ladies and gentlemen. That's my grandfather when he joined the Marines. He retired. He was in the Marines, then he went to the Air Force, retired as a lieutenant major colonel or something. But that's who my officer saw.
No, that's awesome. That's pretty cool.
So that was the picture I showed that officer. So because when he kept describing his face, I was like, but anyways, so Kelly was like, yeah, that's him getting your attention because in the commode it was a push button, not a lever. It was, you literally, Tracy, had to push the button to make this thing flush. So, and Kelly Joe went on to tell me, hey, you're going to move in approximately 4 to 6 months, and this is where you're going to move to. And I laughed at her. I'm like, I ain't moving. I'm here in Lexington. I'm not going anywhere. Hello, Lala, welcome. And she's like, oh, and then at the end of the show, she was like, by the way, at the end of the show, she's like, you're going to have to go see a dentist. Bye. And she got off the show, and I'm there on the live by myself. And I was like, ladies and gentlemen, I got good teeth. And I'm like, I don't have to go see a dentist. So what was really amazing is that come to fruit. And what I tell a lot of people, when you deal with people with abilities, a lot of things may not resonate with you right away, right? And it may come to pass. So, ladies and gentlemen, I actually moved exactly when she said I was going to move. And it was funny. I moved where she said I was going to move. And when I got there, it was not even a month and a half. I was sucking on a piece of Red Hots, one of those Red Hot candies about the size of a quarter.
Yep.
And I noticed that a piece of it wouldn't dissolve and it had no flavor. I kept, you know how you do that number, right?
Yeah.
And it wouldn't go nowhere. So I spit it out. And I was like, nah. And if you watch the other shows, it was I didn't know I was a king. It was my crown. I broke a crown. So I picked up the phone and I called Kelly, and Kelly goes, I know why you're calling. You got to go see the dentist, don't you? And I was like, damn it. I hate when y'all do that to me. I was like, really? I was like, that just kills me. Right. Yep. So, but it's interesting because people with abilities will tell me on the show all the time, you got a man, an older guy standing behind you, and it's your grandfather. I'm like, yeah, he's with me all the time. So it's very interesting. So it's nice to know that he's there, and it's very interesting to know about that stuff. But, when it comes to paranormal activity, it's amazing that when you don't realize when things happen to you, right? You
Mhm.
ignore them.
Yep.
And I notice that dealing with people with abilities, they tell you is that when you ignore them, they get stronger and they try to get your attention, whether it's by knocking stuff around, moving stuff, dreams. People come to you in your dreams, right? Now, my grandmother, I knew when she comes around, when I was quite younger, was Red Door. Her fragrance that she wore all the time was her favorite, was Red Door. And I found out not too long ago, my mom, has abilities. And one of her abilities was that she knows when somebody's going to pass, she would vision a casket and see a body, but not see the face. And she would also smell funeral funeral flowers. And that haunted her for years and years and years because she hated that. And she would always tell my dad, somebody's going to pass away shortly. And my dad's like, oh, you're crazy, whatnot, blah, blah, blah. And when my grandfather's brother got murdered up in Ohio when I was a child, he came back. And that's what I'm saying. Everybody in my mom's family has come back. And it's weird. And, these people with abilities like Lala, the psychic detective, and everybody else, Kelly Joe, and people from Australia, they'll tell you, when you ignore these signs and symptoms, right, they come back and try to get your attention in other ways. And for the non-believers out there that say that, I have dreams about my loved ones, that's probably them trying to tell you that, hey, I'm with you. I'm here and I'm acknowledging you. And a lot of people are, oh, that's baloney. I'm just dreaming about my loved ones, or I miss somebody. Or have you ever sat there and get a warm feeling, right? Because I'll be doing a show and somebody be like, Grizzly, your grandfather's standing right over your shoulder and he's got his hand on you. Now, well, that explains why I got that warm feeling on my shoulder, or I got that tingling sensation, right?
Yep.
I don't know, why I get those sensations, unless somebody tells me, because I don't see stuff like that. I see images, right? Like right now, I know that you're thinking a lot about the song and you going to Nashville and you're trying to work out the details as I'm talking. And I see all that, right? And this is what I'm getting from you just sitting here talking. And that's very distracting. And I know you're excited about it, and I'm excited too. But, it's just that's how things come to me. And it's weird. And I get that from people in the audience. But for the non-believers out there, you got to open it up, and it's very, very interesting to get people like Lala, right? Since she's here, we'll use her as an example and get people that come on her show and they connect. And like on the last show, we had Barb Hartman. Did you watch the whole show or just part of the show?
I watched a little bit of it, Grizz. I didn't
So
get a
what
chance
was
to
interesting, I had one of the cat balls up here, then I had the REM pod set in front of the computer.
Oh, you're talking about the
And
one right before this, right?
right.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah. I watched about 10 minutes of it.
so Barb's mother came through, and on the spirit
No kidding.
box, and Angus, and nobody knew what that was, and everybody got real quiet. And so we were like, oh, so we're I'm thinking Angus like a bull, like a cow, moo moo, and nobody said anything. And next thing you know, I don't know, 30, 40 seconds later, Barb's like, maybe that's my mom. And the cat ball just lights up like, I'm like, oh my God, I freak out, I get real nervous and excited and I get stuttering and whatnot. And then, we're like, is it Barb's mom? And the REM pod goes, yeah. And we're like, what? And then, people start asking questions and we're starting to get reactions. And we're like, I'm getting all excited. I'm sounding like Porky the Pig there, And Barb is actually asking questions. Agnes, thank you. And that was the name, Agnes. Am I saying that right? Tracy?
Yeah,
Agnes?
it looks like Agnes. Yeah.
Yeah, Agnes. but you know, and Barb's asking questions. Then we had the psychic detective in here, which is Melinda Williams. And if you never ever seen her, I got to bring her back. She teaches psychic detective skills for people to do remote viewing, missing person cases, and how to hone on your psychic abilities. And she's very, very well known. Well, she came on into the chat. And so she start validating stuff for Barb, and the cat ball's like going, and the REM pod's going, and I'm like, just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And Barb's like asking questions, and it's going off, and you know, the psychic detective's telling Barb stuff, and she's like, oh my God, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm in FDL paranormal, and I'm just freaking out, you know, and it's just all going on in the circle, and it's like nonstop. And it was just like Barbara asked a question and would react. FDL would ask a question and would react. And it was just like, ladies and gentlemen, how can you fabricate this? I mean, you're watching it happening. I mean, my hands are right here and the ball's going off. The REM pod's going off, you know? And it's then Lala come in and start saying something about the throat and the stomach. And Barb's like, yeah, you know, she had problems with that too. And then you had two psychics, you know, validating stuff. And Barb was validating stuff. Then Barb was asking questions. Then I would repeat the questions. And I wouldn't even finish the questions. And the REM pod would go off. Then I would freak out. Then Barb started shaking. And I'd start shaking. And we all start shaking. And I was freaking out, you know. And it's just like, it was nonstop. And it's weird. And then it all just cut off. And it went quiet. And it was just like, that was it.
Yep.
And it's like, you know, and we talked about is how energy comes in spurts, I guess. I don't know. And like, evidently the message that Barb had, if it's okay for me to say this, Barb, is that she, I guess, had regrets for how things happened when Barb was growing up, evidently. And that was part of the message that she wanted to relay on the show, that came across through the people with abilities and through the gadgets we were using to validate that with Barb. And that was heartfelt, right? And that was like, oh my God. I mean, that was like a moment for everybody in on the show and in the chat, you know, and we all got kind of like real quiet because everything went dead. And it was just like, you know, and we're like, are you still here, Agnes? And nothing went off. And it was like, it was gone. And so we moved on to the next topic and about going to the graveyard and stuff. And they were like, you know, you need to take some dolls. And FDL was like, you need to take 5 dolls and do a pentagram and all this. I'm like, oh, no, I ain't doing that. And the ball went off. And I'm like, oh, no. See, and then you know, Angel Light's like, oh, don't do that, Grizzly. It's bad for you. And everybody's like, yeah, thumbs up. You know, take dolls. And all this other stuff. And I'm like, I don't know about the doll thing, right? But It was interesting. Because how can you explain somebody in the chat room, right, like Barb, and somebody coming through on the Spirit Talker in UK with the name and connecting across the world and across the country with devices and uniting like that and having, and Jean had to leave because we kept talking about a certain topic. So she missed a lot of it. And I'm sorry, Jean. I know how it is about certain topics. Because I have issues with certain topics that I have to deal with because of the department issues. But yeah, you're right. And but how can you explain that? You know,
you can't. You can't. That's just you know. When I tuned in, you were talking about the graveyard. You just started talking about it, and then the cat balls will go off, and you're like,
yeah.
The REM pod will go off. You're like,
actually, I hurt my neck. I hurt my neck doing that because it freaks me out. That's why I don't have them up right now, right?
I was driving to the doctor at that time, and I was just laughing. I was like, "Holy crap!" You know.
Well, they got a meme of me floating around on Facebook of some of the faces I make, and I can't help it. You know, because I get real excited, and I don't mean to, but it's just like, you know, what makes those things go off? And when you ask a specific question, and it responds, And then you have people with abilities that will say, this is what it's saying. This is what your loved one's telling you.
Yep.
Brian, this was the one with the FDL Paranormal, the show prior to this, at 4:00 Eastern time. The Grizzly on the Hunt with FDL Paranormal, haunted items and so forth. Yeah, one at 4. It was a good show. It really involved Barb Hartman with her mom. It was very interesting. Lala played a part in it too with the psychic detective. Of course, I always get excited about anytime things go off. So, but no,
I
it
tell
was
you,
interesting.
the best evidence I ever got was, you talked about how everything was going, and then it just stopped. So we were up at Ashmore Estates, and I've talked a little bit about it, never really dove in too far with it. But we had the tricycle up there on the 3rd floor. It's in a level spot for an hour. We have the REM pod up there sitting on the seat. It's going off. We have the EMF up there. We have all this equipment, and it's going crazy for like 15, 20 minutes. And we're asking it to move this tricycle, nothing at all. And then everything stopped for like 10 minutes. And we thought, well, this room, they're silent now. Let's go to a different room. They just decided to stop talking. I'm telling you, everything spitting out words, all this and that. And we, my best friend, Tom, with that paranormal, his daughter, who was like 15 or 16 at the time, she was, we're doing a Facebook Live. So she's videoing like this with the camera facing it. But we all decided to go into a different room, and she goes like this with the camera, just pointing down at it, not realizing she's pointing down at it. And as we walk out of the room, we're editing it the next day. As we're walking out of the room, that tricycle's moving backwards. So we have it on film.
Oh,
but
wow.
I only bring that up because you said, how everything was just going crazy for you. And then all of a sudden it just stopped. And then you're like,
right.
You're almost deflated. You're like, dang it, man, we almost got something. We had evidence. But you're like, man, we wish that thing would have moved. And then, of course, the next days when we saw that. So, and then you're talking about the psychics and stuff, and it's a great gift for them. But man, to me, I can't speak for them themselves because I don't have that, that spirituality. But I would bet stress would be something that could hurt, that could overwhelm you sometimes. Like that, we had that person on the show one time that's talking about the death date. She knew everybody's death date.
Right.
Man, I don't know if I could handle having that knowledge and then, have to keep it to myself, because you'd want to say something if you knew it was like tomorrow. You'd be like wanting to tell that person, hey, go tell the people that that you love them, stuff like that. So, I respect that group of people that do that job, because it's to them, maybe they like it, to an extent, but it's got to be a little bit of stress too. And that's a great topic for like Lala or anybody like that to maybe hit on one of their shows one of these times. That'd be interesting to watch them talk about that. So.
Yeah, it is. And I learned and this is going to be in my book that's coming out. It's weird because a lot of people with abilities growing up, lived a very different childhood. They weren't normal, as normal can be defined. They were outsiders. A lot of them had depressions. They were mistreated with other kids, bullied or whatnot, however you want to describe it, because they thought what they had was normal to everybody else, right? And especially with the women, it was hard for them to have relationships because they knew things about the other person that they shouldn't have known, right? Especially about being truthful and about things that a regular person would not know.
Yeah.
So that really hurt a lot of relationships. And then when they didn't go with their intuition and their gifts and went against them, they're like, I'm going to still go out with this guy and try it. It always ended up in a bad predicament or a bad outcome. And they had regrets over that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was one of the things that I saw when I did the journey. And when I started out the journey to do that, I didn't know I was going to write a book. And I was told by Kelly Jo I was going to, and I laughed at her. I said, Kelly Jo, I'm never going to write a book. She said, yes, you are. And I'm not going to tell you, but you're going to write a book. And I was like, well, what is it going to be? She said, you're going to figure that one out on your own. She said, I can't give you answers for everything. Some of it you're going to have to unlock yourself. I'll never forget that conversation she gave to me. And because I went on that journey with people with abilities to understand and to actually to debunk them, right? To call out the fakes and phonies. But instead, I found everybody that I interviewed were all genuine and true. And the ones that I met were not fake and phony, because the fakes and phonies knew who I was and knew my background and knew my history. And they're like, I'm not going against this ex-cop that did, a couple of thousand interviews and won all these court cases in a court of law.
Yeah.
And being interviewed by him, no. And I guess, the interviews never worked out or just whatever. So all the ones I interviewed were spot on. And it was interesting for me, not for the people I interviewed, because it was sad, because everybody lived the same path or had the same path throughout life in the same journey, but a different road with thorns and gravel, shoes walking on, or no shoes walking on gravel. That's how hard the path was for them growing up, and not only growing up, but being an outsider. And it was heartfelt. And I was like, probably 4 or 5 months into it, I met this one lady and I was talking to her. And I was like, I was telling her about this journey I was on. And she was like, you need to write a book. And I'm like, I don't know where to start writing a book. She goes, I'm a publisher. And I'm like, what? And she goes, yeah. And I'm like, I'll help you. And I'm like, nah. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. So she's like, what do you want to do? And is that how Grizzly, you say your name? Isn't that Grizzly? Used to say your name.
Catherine is what she posted up there. Catherine, if you scroll up, I think.
What, I've been calling her wrong? Catherine?
Tammy Johnson said, hey, Catherine.
Oh, okay. But anyways, so we end up, she's actually, should be out, I think, in November, I think, is our publish date for the book.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's very interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting. It was, I never thought that I would actually do it. Right. So I was very, and I called Kelly Jo up and I was like, Kelly, you ain't gonna believe it. She's like, I already know. She's like, you already started on the book. And I'm like, how do you know all this stuff? So I went back to all the psychics they interviewed. I'm like, hey, can I put you in this book? But instead of me writing about what I did with you, I want you all to put some of your stuff in this book. And they're like, yeah, that'd be great. So everybody had the chance to put their own little spin and their input on their book. And I gave everybody sort of like their own chapter in this book as well to tell their story. So it's pretty interesting. So I'm really, really excited about it. So
yeah, I can't wait till it comes out.
Yeah, I am. But that's my little journey with that. But so what's going on with you? So you're going to Nashville to do what?
So when did we start this thing, Grizz? About 6 months ago?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'd say it's around March, I think it was. So Grizz gave me a challenge of some type of paranormal song, because I was going to Nashville to sing
that's right.
Country music. I sing country music. If you guys get a chance, go to TracyEnmanMusic.com. You can hear the songs there, or Spotify. I actually got a song that's getting played, a little bit of play on the radio on Small Market called I'm Drunk Again. And I actually got a guy, Grizzly, from the area here in St. Louis that's going to play it on an AM station tomorrow. So at least I know I can hear it on the radio somewhere, right, ahead of time. Otherwise, you got to try to catch it. Yeah. But anyway, Grizzly challenged me to come up with a paranormal song, and I think I came up with a pretty damn good paranormal song. And we're going, my wife Kelly and I are going down this weekend, and I'm going to put the words to the music that we made. And it's gonna be exciting, I think, for the paranormal. I think it's gonna be good. You're gonna love it, Grizz.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. So I got a message. I'm real excited about the song. The name of the book. Oh, oh. Man, I thought that was a doll. I thought that was a dog crawling on my foot. Oh, it was a cord. False alarm. False alarm. Oh my God. I thought I was going to have a meltdown.
You need 5 minutes to go take care of yourself?
Oh, I really did. I thought that was a dog crawling up my leg. The name of the book is called Whispers of the Mind. Is the name of the book. Sorry, ladies. Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't mean to have a meltdown. I really did thought it was a dog crawling up my leg. Sorry. So Whispers of the Mind is the name of the book.
Well, I'm going to buy a signed copy from you. Woo. I hope you know that, right?
Man, my heart about came out of my chest. That's the crazy witches laughing. Yep, I about jumped out of my chair. I didn't know what it was. But anyways, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to have a meltdown on the air, ladies and gentlemen, but that happened once on the show. So, yeah, Whispers of the Mind. Thanks for somebody asking me on sending me a message. Hey, Thomas, welcome back to the show.
That's awesome. Like I said, I want to get a signed copy from you. When you get it out, I'll buy one from you and sign it for me if you would, please.
So I'm actually working on another book. I've got it on hold because I don't want to get too far. It's a book on near-death experiences, NDE. And because on this trip I took, I learned a lot about near-death experiences as well. And I think that's a fascinating topic. So, but anyway, just want to throw that out there.
Definitely. Who's your publisher?
Her name is, I'm glad you asked, Shay Brandon. She's very well known, and she helps out a lot of people. She does Pagan Magazine and other ones. She's done quite a few books.
Oh, good.
So so I'm very happy with her. So everything's going pretty good. I love the cover so far. So yes.
I wish we were closer, man. I'd come down and come do that cemetery hunt with you. Just too dang far away.
So it's going to be interesting. So I got another message too. So I'll share my screen real quick. If you do, I do have, I'll share it real quick and I'll go through it. If you do, ladies and gentlemen, I do have the holy water. Yes, it's only $8.95. Can you see it, Tracy? Because I can't see anything.
Yep, there it is.
All right, so I do have the holy water. It's only $8.95. Just make sure if you do, send me a message. Do not drink it, consume it, put in anybody's food, drinks, or anything like that, because it does have a little chlorine in it because of the pandemic. So the crucifixes you can buy with or without the holy water. It's got the St. Benedict's medal in it, and they are blessed. So thanks for reminding me, and I put that up there. So, but like I said, if y'all want any of that stuff, just send me a private message or email me or something like that and let me know, and I'll ship that out. So it's not a problem. Thanks for the reminder, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate it.
No, that's good. Yeah. I was going to ask everybody, if you guys get an opportunity, you can see my hat, paralink.com. I'm not going to share the screen or anything like that, but if you guys get an opportunity to check it out, it'd be appreciated. It's free. It's for the community. I just want to throw it out there for a couple seconds here. It's almost like a Facebook for the community. It's a social media page for people to talk. We have a lot of members and we are global, but what we're looking for is more people to join, but it's going to stay free. But we need more content, people posting stuff. So if you guys have the opportunity, it would be appreciated if you could just at least check it out. It ain't going to hurt anything. It's free. We don't ask personal information. Just give an email and a password, and it's all good. So please, if you have the opportunity. And as Forrest Gump says, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, the crucifixes are real nice, D. People love them. They are blessed and everything. But I have somebody that's lined up. How far are we booked out?
October 11th is the last one. After that, we can whoever you want.
Because I actually have somebody that is a viewer that has a lot of paranormal experiences that I've been talking to that would like to come on the show. But the thing is, it's going to be anonymously, and we have to hide the person's face for privacy reasons. A lot of paranormal stuff, very impressive. Sad in a way, but for people like us, we get excited. But a lot of things this person's went through trial and tribulations over it. I'm sharing right now, ladies and gentlemen, my affiliate links to some of the people that support us. So that's what I'm sharing in the comments right now. But yeah, Science Bob, thank you. He actually ordered the spiritual warfare kit.
Oh,
and
cool.
I don't know if I got a picture of that. Let me see if I do real quick. Yeah. And I'll pull that up while I'm talking. Let me see here. Click button. I'm sorry. But some of the experiences that this person has talked about is mind blowing, and it actually sounds like out of a horror movie. And I say that with really with actually respect.
Yeah.
My heart actually goes out to the person because of the things that this person's gone through.
Yeah.
But that's what the warfare kit looks like. So it comes with holy water, a candle. Each one of these crosses, we have to do something with. We have to plant them. There's a whole bunch of things we have to do. It's a process. It's just nothing you just buy and just sit on a shelf. This is for cleansing of the property, the land, the house, everything. And like I said,
that's cool.
It's a whole bunch of stuff. But it really makes you wonder how this person survived. Through all this, and I don't want to give too much away. So, what date you say you have available?
I tell you what, the 18th or the 25th. The 25th might be pretty cool since it's closer to Halloween.
Okay, so I'll reach out to the person on for the 25th and see if
or the 18th
this will work out.
25th, yeah,
18th or the 25th, and go ahead and get that booked. And I'll reassure them. I don't know. I mean, I just want to make sure it's okay to have permission, right?
Yep.
And because they're on the teeter-totter right now, and with respect with their experiences, because they own a business, and you know how it is, and it took them a lot to come forward and say, hey, look, this is what I've been through. And I actually threw the line out and was like, hey, if you want, have the opportunity, I can talk to Tracy and maybe have you come on the show and give your testimony about some of your experiences. And the person was actually shocked at first. And ladies and gentlemen, if you've got encounters and stuff that you want to talk about and discuss, maybe in October or November, maybe Tracy and I can come up with a date and have an open forum date where we can just have random viewers come on and give like a 5 or 10 minute, hey, this is my story, or a 15-minute section where
or we
could
do like the third Wednesday of the month. You have a person on that, out of the audience or that wants to give their story, or two people, you know what I mean? I like either of those ideas, Chris. We could do a 10 or 15 minute thing, or if they have a lot, do a whole show, That's up to you guys. No, it's awesome that person, that you reach out to that person and they're interested. Hopefully they'll take it and want to share their experiences and be very, we'd be very respectful to them.
Yeah.
So,
we want a safe platform, right? And we have that in our groups, but we want a safe area too. Because when I took that spiritual journey with the psychics, I don't mean to sound graphic, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to put my mic a little closer so you can hear me. I don't know how many people actually took their own lives because of their abilities, because that's how far lost they were in the crowd, because how different they are between us and everybody else, because they didn't understand their abilities and why they could see things or hear things or go through the things that other people could not. So, that really changed me. And that's why I took those classes last year and got my certifications to become a reverend and ordained minister and so forth, and took the biblical reference route. And I learned a lot. And I'll never forget that. And everybody that I interviewed and still meet along the way, even with the crime shows that do the psychic panel, still touches me to this day. Yeah. So, and say Lala. Yeah, I felt that way at one point in my life, and it's sad. So if you do have a paranormal experience and or encounter, and reach out to us. Grizzly Chris on Facebook, reach out to Tracy, and we'll try to figure it out and get you scheduled in somehow, and we'll make time. Yeah. Are we booked? Yeah, absolutely we are. But we'll make time and figure something out, get you on the air, and
without you guys, we wouldn't even have a show, right? So
that's right.
It is appreciated.
That's right. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of night. Don't forget, we got another show coming up at 9 p.m. Eastern time. That's right.
Yes, sir.
Cryptids and Bigfoots and local news. And man, well, I don't know what's going to happen on that show. But Tracy, I can't wait for the song. So when am I going to hear it?
Hopefully we have it by next Wednesday. But I'm not. Right. It's kind of quick. It just depends how it goes Saturday. So, and how fast they can get it all together. So
awesome, great. Well, ladies and gentlemen, from coast to coast and around the world, that's a wrap. We'll catch you on the next show.
Thanks, guys.
Godspeed. Bye-bye. Get out, man.